Hey everyone, and welcome to Read This Now, the weekly webcast where Brad Gustafson and I share two books that we think you should read. When, Brad?
Read them right now, people. Don't delay. Jen,
Right now.
I was thinking, this is how my brain works. I was thinking we should have opened up the show like wearing face masks or something, just to kind of, I don't want to say commemorate the times, but just ground these book
Yes.
talks and the importance of them, and or at least how important I think the connecting is with you and other readers. But
This is
then,
so totally random, but because, everybody, the three people who watch this show on the regular, right?
hi, Mom.
They, they, they know that we don't script any of this. So I had no idea you were about to say that, but
Yeah.
it gives me an opportunity to say that I actually do have a face mask right here that was made by Stephanie Tanner, who you might
Oh
remember
yeah.
as the 2018 30-second book club, 30-second book talk champion.
Yep.
She
Insignificant events in the life of a cactus. Was that her
Yes,
winning book talk?
exactly. That's
Okay.
right. She did Dusty Bowling, and that was her winning book talk that year. And she made my husband and I some sweet masks. So this is an opportunity for me to say thank you to her. I just happen to have it right here. Again,
That's
we
awesome.
plan this, and to give a little plug to the 30-second book talk, which is still
Well
going
done.
right now, folks. If you haven't contributed a video, all you have to do is send one, share it on the interwebs using the 30-second book talk hashtag, and help us spread a little book joy and love during a time.
Dr. Don Vu just shared his 30-second book talk entry like a day or so ago, and it was really, really cool and powerful. He had his daughter help out. Hey, it occurs to me, this is kind of the dorky side of me, which is really the only side, but a lot of people will refer back to like the Super Bowl in 2010, and they'll talk about the players and the plays, or the World Series and the plays and stats. And it's funny that you and I are talking about the World Championship of Book Talks, and we're like, yeah, Stephanie Tanner. Oh, what book was that? Oh, that was the puppet. I think she did puppets or something,
Yes,
cutouts.
yes. I have such memories of those book talks. Another one that stands out to me is Andy Jacks, who
Yes.
read Don't Bring an Alligator to School.
Yes.
It's
As soon
awesome.
as you said his name, even though he's done several book talks, I thought
Yes,
alligator. Yep.
yes, or crocodile. I can't remember which
Yeah.
one it was, but I know that he did this awesome green screen where there was actually an alligator or crocodile in the school chasing them around. It was amazing. It was
Great.
amazing.
I don't
But
want to take a.
go
I
ahead.
do have a question, and people can just answer in the comments. But anyone who wears glasses, if you know how to wear a face mask and not have your glasses fog up, I really need to know, because I cannot go to the grocery store and wear a face mask with foggy glasses. It just doesn't work. So
Well, this is one of these shows where people are going to learn so much more than they ever thought they were signing up for. They're just sitting there going, "Get to the book talks, you two." Like, what is it?
my
But
family's
I have
looking at
to.
me like, "What are you doing, Brad?" So anyway,
I actually take mine. This is what I have to do,
yeah,
and I put it on first, and then put my glasses on over the mask, and that keeps
got it.
it from uh, from fogging up. But anyway, the more you know. This is sort of like an after-school special, right?
Oh, you are just so patient and gracious. Thank you for allowing my brain. This is like my brain on COVID-19 pandemic, over
Quarantine
zooming.
brain, right? Well, I
Quarantine brain.
taught middle school for about 17 years, so I have a lot of patience with kids like Brad Gustafson. They're my favorites. They're my favorites.
Oh, that's
So, do you
awesome.
want to do a book talk?
I do. I'm excited to talk about my book today, and it actually is kind of fits the quarantine theme. So you and I have talked offline extensively and online, and one of the things, a theme that kind of comes up in our conversations and collaboration, is around the importance of how books and stories create connectedness and connection, and that's a really important thing. And
Hmm.
sometimes I get a little mushy, and I talk about like heart to heart connection. Sometimes it's
Sure.
with the book, sometimes it's with other people talking about the books. So the book I want to share today ticks all of those things, but it's also just a story. It's more of a story, and I'm hoping it encourages people. I know in this time where it feels like I'm wandering through my days, like the hours just bleed in, and sometimes the work goes later in the evening than it should, and I'm sure that happens for a lot of people. But I'm desperately longing for like a connection to our team at Greenwood, whether that's students, families, teachers. So I was looking at my bookshelf recently, just as I often do, and a book jumped out at me, and it was just a visceral moment where I could picture it in a particular teacher's classroom, and then I was picturing just the vibe and the room and the setup, and it was just crazy. And I grabbed the book because I needed that. I didn't necessarily need to read the book, and in fact, it never exactly jumped out at me when it was on his whiteboard ledge. But I read it and I felt this instant connection. So I want to share that book, and then talk just a teeny bit more about that. So the book is Creepy Carrots. And long story short, the main character feels like they're being chased and watched by carrots, but every time they turn around, they're seeing orange, and then they're questioning themselves, like, am I really being chased by carrots, or is this a figment of my imagination? And there's a kind of a comical, well, it's a solid book. It's a great ending too. The reason that I wanted to share this, in part because, well, it's good to always increase our picture book repertoire and for read alouds and stuff like that. But also I was just thinking to myself, because of that experience and how this brought me back to our school, like where I would desperately want to be and wish I was, like, what other books can I read, or might other people, if this sounds familiar, might we want to reread that we had never really considered rereading before, but that might take us back to a read aloud we had done with our class or with a grade level, or read in a time that will connect us in a way that's unexpected. So as I was thinking about this, Jen, and that story, of course, I connected to so many different conversations we had, and it became super real. Like books, this connection, it's not just to the authors and the text. Sometimes it's to the moments and the people who we're not physically with.
That's the power of story. It really does attach to some kind of sticky memory, in our brains, where it becomes associated with people or places, or just moments in time. And during a time like this, I think you're right. Sometimes that rereading can really be healing, because it can help you feel connected to a time that is really joyful pre all this, and that we will get back to eventually. But now, as we're counting off all the quarantine days, and I don't know about you, I've lost count. I hardly even know what day it is anymore. It's like, I think those opportunities, those moments are more important than ever. That's neat. I love that book. I love the cover of that book. I just, as a kid who liked sort of spooky stuff, I think that's a creepy, spooky cover that's perfect for little ones, not too spooky, right? So I love that.
Yeah, it's probably really at the threshold of my elementary comfort level for spookiness. Well, to the point where if I had to put a great, we do the age recommendations. I'm thinking college. No, just kidding. But I do love, I'm glad that you kind of alluded to this. One of the things that drew me to this book is the vivid art. I just love the color contrast and how orange and the different contrast are strategically used. It just has, it just pulls you in. So throughout the book, not just the cover.
Well, I'm going to use that color reference as a segue to my book talk, because it also has an orange cover, although my book is very, very different. The book I'm going to share today is called Wink, by Rob Harrell, and I'm going to kind of zoom in on the boy's face on the cover, because the boy in the book, Ross, is not really winking. He has a permanent wink, or a semi-permanent wink, because he's had ocular cancer. And the story is about how he's dealing with this new reality where he doesn't lose his eye completely, but he does end up losing sight there. And while he's going through radiation treatments, his eye has to remain closed. So he has sort of this permanent wink. And his best friend, Abby, starts calls him Wink as a nickname. And it's interesting because I picked up this book based on the recommendation from a friend. Shout out to Jenny Greenway if she watches this. But I wasn't sure I wanted to read it at all, because right now, I don't know. It's like I felt like my heart couldn't take a really sad tearjerker, oh gosh, boo-hoo cancer book. Like I just wasn't sure I could take that right now.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
here's what the unexpected. Well, first of all, the thing that drew me, like that made me think, well, maybe I should go ahead and read it, is there's a recommendation on the cover from Max Brailar, who's written some of the funniest, uh, most clever books for kids. Of course, the titles right now are like the Last Kids on Earth series. There we go. That's one. They're illustrated, they're funny, they're really, really cute. And he writes on the cover that this book is hilarious, that it's really funny. And I thought, well, gosh, maybe I should take a look at it. And so I did. And here's the best way I can describe it, Brad. It's as though it's like if RJ Palaccio's Wonder and Dave Pilkey's Dog Man and somehow the movie The Breakfast Club all had a baby. That is this book. It is
Wow, that's like
illustrated.
that's the endorsement of the year right there.
I
I'll
know.
be back. I gotta go to the store and get a book.
It's great. I want to pull out. It's peppered. It's Ross's story of how he's dealing with all this serious stuff. But throughout the book, all of these crazy, awkward moments that Ross deals with, his alter ego superhero Bat Pig that he's created deals with the same moments, but in a totally different way. So it's like, here's Ross dealing with kids making fun of him at school. And then in the comic, Bat Pig comes in and deals with it in a totally different way and is like the superhero, right?
Mm.
And I have to tell you, like this story, number one, it was laugh out loud funny. I literally cracked up at some of the jokes in this book. It's illustrated, it's not a graphic novel, but it has illustrations throughout. So I think a lot of kids will find it accessible. But I also think it's sort of like the very best sort of Disney movies where the kids are watching it on one level and adults will be watching it at a totally different
Yes.
level because there's stuff in there that as an adult I wasn't sure kids would get, but that totally did my heart like in when I was reading it. So I loved it so much,
Mm.
and I feel like this is a great book. This is one of those rare books that I think fourth or fifth graders could read and get on one level, but like seventh or eighth graders could read and get on a totally different level. So it's
Mm.
really got a wide grade span. So it's Wink by Rob Harrell, and I just really loved it. Thank you, Jenny, for recommending it. And I definitely think you should read this now.
So cool. When you're talking about wonder, I do remember the first time I read that. So at night, I would literally be laughing out loud in
Yes.
chapters, and then like there'd be a few chapters later, I'd be crying or at least tearing
Mhm.
up, and be like, "Oh my gosh, I hope Deb doesn't wake up because she'll think I'm just an idiot or a train wreck," having that. So it's neat that you said that comparison at the beginning, comparing to wonder and a couple other things, and then you reminded me of that in the book talk too.
There are definitely some sad moments. I'm not going to pretend that there isn't sadness in this book. Of course, there is, but that's really not the overriding message. The author himself, he dealt with this same cancer when he was younger. And so it's kind of loosely based on his experience. But I kept being reminded by this quote by from all people, Dolly Parton, when I was reading it. Dolly Parton says, "Find out who you are and then do it on purpose."
Mm.
And I felt like that's really what the theme of this book is. Here's this middle school kid trying to figure out who he is. Everything he likes about himself, other kids don't see as acceptable. And it is really about him trying to figure out that being him is okay,
Mm.
while also all of this cancer is going on and stuff. So it's an interesting, complicated, but super, super accessible and funny book. I really hope a lot of people read it.
That's so cool. Well, I can't wait to check it out because in a similar to my book talk, I'm envisioning ordering this and then reading it and then following up and having conversations with you. So it kind of meets again that core need of just connecting with people you care about. So thanks for
Yeah.
sharing that. I can't wait to check it out.
One other thing I will say is that a lot of people reach out to me asking me often for whole school or whole grade level reads. Like, what's a
Hmm.
book? Because and Wonder is one of those books that a lot of all school reads, you know,
Yep.
especially in middle school or in elementary school. It might have been a fourth or fifth grade level read, right? And I feel like Wink is one of those books I can add to that list, that a sixth grader would get it on one level and it'd be totally developmentally appropriate for them, and an eighth grader would get it and love it in a whole different way and it'd be appropriate for them. And the same could be true for fourth or fifth grade, depending on those classes. It's a book that really spans a lot of grade levels. So I just love it, and I can't say enough about it. I hope y'all out there pick it up and read it as soon as you're able to. I'm sending my copy to Brad Gustafson, so I can't pass it on, but.
Don't tease me like that, Jen.
Anyway, so if other people want to read any of our other book talks, which are amazing, or just see a list of all the books we've recommended, where should they go, Brad?
Yeah, I got a stellar list at bit.ly/read_this_now. Lots of good ideas along with age recommendations and even some video recommendations linked there if you want to rewatch. Grab some popcorn and get your book talk quarantine on.
Why wouldn't you? Like, the quality of these shows is so amazing.
Exactly. Right.
Well, I'll see you next week, friend. Until then.
That sounds great. Thanks, Jen. Thanks, everyone.